For more than 40 years, Edgar Cayce consistently provided one of the most alarming alerts in his 14,000 recorded psychic readings. He disclosed that belongings of the deceased could form invisible spiritual bonds that hinder souls from advancing in the afterlife. What stunned even his closest supporters was the realization that merely holding on to certain items out of love and remembrance could be detrimental to the very souls we intended to honor. Today, I will outline the specific types of objects Cayce cautioned against, the documented spiritual principles behind these warnings, and how grasping this could revolutionize your approach to grief as well as your spiritual growth. If you're keen on delving into Edgar Cayce's genuine insights on consciousness, healing, and spiritual awakening, please subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell. We explore the extensive knowledge provided by America's renowned sleeping prophet, relying solely on his recorded sessions from the Association for Research and Enlightenment archives located in Virginia Beach. Have you ever sensed an inexplicable bond with items belonging to a departed loved one? Have you questioned why some family heirlooms appear to hold an emotional significance that transcends simple nostalgia? The documented readings of Cayce uncover that there is a deep spiritual explanation for these feelings, and grasping this could transform your approach to grief and memorializing those who have left us. In the upcoming minutes, I will present 3 essential insights derived from Cayce's authenticated teachings. To begin with, there is the outlined spiritual mechanism explaining how objects hold psychic imprints. Next, we have the particular types of items that Cayce often advised against keeping. Lastly, he offered an exceptional spiritual method for liberating these attachments while preserving a loving bond with those who have passed away. Edgar Cayce, famously referred to as the sleeping prophet, performed his psychic readings while in an induced trance from his residence in Virginia Beach, Virginia. His devoted stenographer, Gladys Davis, diligently transcribed each word of the readings for more than 4 decades, resulting in the most extensive compilation of recorded psychic material in contemporary history. The readings found in the ARE archives invariably discuss the spiritual significance of our connections to physical items that belong to those who have passed away. However, before delving into these cautions, it's essential to grasp what Cayce intended when he referred to the unseen realm of psychic impressions and spiritual bonds. In his readings, Cayce repeatedly emphasized that every tangible object captures and holds the emotional and mental energies of its owner. This concept is not merely mystical conjecture. Rather, it is a well-documented principle reflected in numerous readings over the course of his extensive career. Cayce disclosed insights that fundamentally question traditional views on mourning and commemoration. His recorded teachings suggest that holding on to strong emotional connections with the possessions of those who have passed away may lead to what he called earthbound conditions. He clarified that these conditions can impede a soul's natural journey through elevated spiritual realms. The objects deemed most spiritually challenging, in line with Cayce's teachings, belong to certain categories that may take you by surprise. At the forefront of this list are personal jewelry pieces regularly worn by the deceased, especially wedding rings and religious artifacts that hold significant emotional value. Garments associated with emotionally charged moments in an individual's life form another significant area of interest. Surprisingly, Cayce's readings indicate that images captured during periods of sickness, despair, or spiritual challenges may harbor these negative vibrational energies. In his recorded discussions on psychic phenomena, Cayce stated that objects do more than just store memories. They keep lively, energetic links to the consciousness of their previous owners. This concept is a recurring theme in his medical insights, life assessments, and sessions of spiritual guidance that are archived in the ARE collections. However, this is where Cayce's insights become exceptionally insightful. He never promoted the callous discarding of significant belongings. Rather, his readings present a distinct spiritual method for intentionally letting go of psychic ties while nurturing emotional bonds with those who have passed. This method, detailed in various readings, includes prayer, meditation, and intentional focus to aid in personal healing and the ongoing spiritual growth of the souls who have departed. The principles found in Cayce's warnings unveil something extraordinary regarding the essence of consciousness. His readings suggest that consciousness persists beyond physical death. It is constantly developing across spiritual realms that we are just starting to comprehend. Our earthly bonds, particularly our emotional connections to material possessions, can form energetic links that hinder this inherent spiritual advancement. This transforms our conventional views on mourning and memorial practices. According to Cayce's recorded teachings, authentic love for those who have passed involves fostering their ongoing spiritual evolution rather than clinging to ties that anchor them to earthly circumstances. However, there's an even more profound spiritual principle at play in this context. In his extensive readings, Cayce repeatedly emphasized that we are eternal spirits undergoing temporary physical experiences. The bonds we create with fellow souls persist after physical death, yet they naturally transform into connections that facilitate shared spiritual growth instead of fostering emotional reliance. You may be curious about family heirlooms and artifacts of true historical or practical significance. Cayce's readings clarify this distinction well. The essential factor isn't the item itself, but rather the awareness and intention behind its preservation. Items preserved for their spiritual importance, historical relevance, or practical function possess distinctly different energetic qualities compared to those retained mainly as emotional ties to the past. Cayce's documented teachings clarify the distinction between beneficial remembrance and spiritually constraining attachment. Objects utilized by the deceased for spiritual practices, such as prayer books, meditation tools, or items serving others, can exude positive spiritual energies that aid our personal growth. Conversely, objects kept mainly to foster emotional bonds or to evade the natural grieving process can obstruct both our spiritual evolution and that of the soul who has passed. Shortly, I will outline the specific meditation and prayer methods recommended by Cayce for assessing our connections to inherited items. First, allow me to clarify the deep healing principle that forms the foundation of his teachings on this delicate subject. In accordance with Cayce's well-documented spiritual philosophy, physical death is viewed as a transition from one level of consciousness to another. Souls that have fulfilled their earthly lessons naturally strive to further their education in elevated spiritual realms. As the living, our responsibility is to facilitate this ongoing evolution, rather than to cling to connections that could hinder their natural spiritual advancement. The insights recorded in Cayce's readings consistently indicate that maintaining an active spiritual bond with departed loved ones through practices such as prayer, meditation, and acts of remembrance fosters much healthier relationships than emotional ties to their physical possessions. This method respects our desire for ongoing connection, as well as their need for personal development. I would like to outline the particular process that Cayce suggested for deliberately assessing and letting go of belongings from departed loved ones. This approach, which is reflected in several ways across his recorded readings, starts with entering a meditative or prayerful mindset and sincerely exploring our reasons for retaining each item. The initial step entails holding the object and questioning whether it truly enhances your spiritual journey and positive recollections, or if it serves as a means to evade the natural grieving process and the act of letting go. Cayce's readings highlight the necessity of being completely honest in this self-reflection. The next phase focuses on what Cayce referred to as intentional communication with the soul that has passed on. His recorded teachings consistently emphasize that souls in spiritual realms are able to sense our thoughts and intentions. In your meditation, convey your love for the deceased and your genuine wish for their ultimate spiritual well-being. Inquire whether holding on to this specific item supports the ongoing growth of both your souls. The final step involves being mindful of the impressions, emotions, and insights that emerge throughout this experience. Cayce's readings indicate that we can gain clear spiritual insight through intuition, dreams, or significant synchronicities, which guide us in making wise choices regarding inherited possessions. When you feel prompted to let go of an item, Cayce's teachings advise doing this with mindful intention and appreciation instead of feelings of sadness or guilt. His readings often emphasize the importance of giving valuable items to individuals who will benefit from them, contributing to causes that the deceased would have endorsed, or, in certain instances, returning them to the earth through burial while offering prayers for the soul's ongoing spiritual growth. This illustrates the profound nature of Cayce's spiritual wisdom on the matter. His teachings do not promote complete detachment from the memories of those we cherish. On the contrary, these teachings emphasize that the greatest manifestation of love involves consciously aiding someone's ongoing spiritual growth, regardless of whether they are still in a physical body or have transitioned to different realms of existence. The healing experiences documented by the ARE organization consistently indicate that individuals who embrace these principles report enhancements in their emotional health, more profound spiritual encounters, and a heightened awareness that their loved ones who have passed away are genuinely advancing in their soul development. Many individuals find that letting go of physical attachments actually amplifies their spiritual bond with those who have departed. Now, I'd like to tackle a common question that often arises when people are introduced to these concepts. What should one do with wedding rings from a deceased partner? Cayce's documented insights indicate that the spiritual relevance of wearing the ring is entirely influenced by the awareness behind it. If the ring truly aids in preserving your connection to the everlasting essence of love and fosters your ongoing spiritual development, it may fulfill a beneficial role. Conversely, if it causes you to remain emotionally tethered to the past or hinders your openness to fresh experiences that facilitate your soul's growth, consciously letting go could be in your best interest. The core idea of all Cayce's teachings on this matter is that authentic love aims for the highest spiritual well-being of the beloved. This involves nurturing their continual soul advancement, rather than holding on to ties that might impede their natural evolution through elevated states of consciousness. According to the spiritual philosophy of Cayce, we best honor our deceased loved ones by pursuing personal spiritual growth, serving others in their memory, and fostering connections through prayer and meditation, rather than clinging to material possessions. His readings consistently highlight that souls in spiritual realms can more readily support and communicate with us when our focus is on personal development and service, rather than on grief and material ties. Cases documented in the ARE archives indicate that individuals who intentionally incorporate these principles often experience vivid dreams, significant synchronicities, and spiritual encounters that they interpret as evidence of their loved one's ongoing existence and well-being. More importantly, they frequently find that their own spiritual awareness and capacity for service significantly increases. Throughout his recorded readings, Cayce underscored that grasping these spiritual concepts does not lessen the reality of grief or the significance of processing loss. Rather than merely offering answers, it lays the groundwork for converting sorrow into spiritual insight and ongoing relationships that facilitate the highest growth for all. The insights found in Edgar Cayce's readings provide guidance that is surprisingly applicable for anyone aiming to grasp the profound spiritual aspects of death, consciousness, and the persistence of bonds beyond the physical realm. His teachings, as recorded, indicate that when we approach these delicate subjects with spiritual sophistication and mindful intention, we can honor our innate human feelings while also acknowledging the timeless spiritual truths that influence soul evolution. As we wrap up this examination of Cayce's insights regarding objects and those who have passed, it is essential to keep in mind that his readings consistently emphasize the everlasting nature of consciousness and the enduring nature of loving connections beyond physical mortality. The concepts he articulated are not about fostering separation from loved ones who have departed, but rather about preserving the healthiest spiritual ties that further everyone's ongoing development. The spiritual principles outlined in Cayce's readings indicate that we are all engaged in a continuous journey of soul growth that spans various dimensions of existence. By sincerely understanding and applying these principles with love, we establish a foundation for relationships that go beyond physical boundaries and promote the highest spiritual welfare of every soul involved. If Edgar Cayce's insights from his documented readings have offered valuable perspective on your own spiritual path, consider subscribing to this channel, liking this video, and sharing it with others who may also gain from these significant spiritual teachings. Feel free to leave a comment, expressing your thoughts on how you apply these concepts or any inquiries you may have regarding Cayce's documented knowledge on consciousness, healing, and spiritual growth. The legacy of Edgar Cayce's 14,000 documented readings continues to provide guidance for those seeking a deeper understanding of the spiritual aspects of life. His lessons encourage us to face death, sorrow, and remembrance through a lens of spiritual insight, which opens pathways for healing, personal growth, and lasting connections that ultimately benefit all souls, whether in physical existence or progressing in spiritual realms. Your spiritual path persists, bolstered by the timeless love uniting all beings and enhanced by your commitment to cultivate wisdom, compassion, and a profound understanding of the deeper spiritual truths that influence reality across various levels of consciousness.